So, like many of you, I spent the weekend watching all the footage I could for Pokemon Legends EA's demo. There's a lot of stuff I'm sure you've already seen talked about, but there's still plenty I'm not seeing people talk about enough, and some things they haven't even discussed at all. That's what I'm here for. You know me, I'm here to talk about these things. It's already taken me a lot of time to gather up all this info, so let's not waste any more time. Let's just get started. Something super important that no one brought up is how one clip confirms that we, in fact, have loading screens when going between indoor and outdoor settings. I'm kind of surprised. After all, our environment is relatively small, all taking place within a city and whatnot. Leaks have even confirmed this to be true, so I definitely was expecting everything to at least be seamless, but hey, the bright side is that the loading screens seem super fast. At least in the Switch 2 version, which is what we're seeing in these demos. I have no idea how long they will be on Switch 1, so only time will tell there. A really cool detail I noticed is that having conversations with NPCs no longer freezes your Pokemon in place, or forces them back into their Pokeballs. Our buds really can stay with us during every aspect of our journey this time. Even better is that my friend Al went to Gamescom recently, and before they went, I asked if they could check if we could take our Pokemon out indoors, and this was really the last boundary that would separate our Pokemon from our trainer in-game. And just today, Al confirmed for me that we can indeed take our Pokemon out indoors as well, as they tested it in Hotel AZ. Now, for me, this is so big, and this might, for me, be the best Pokemon game ever, because I've always dreamed of a day when we can play a Pokemon game and have our Pokemon with us at all times and always feel like they're living and breathing right next to us as we do literally everything in the game. This conversation happened on my Discord server, so if you guys want to become part of these kinds of conversations, feel free to join it with the link in the description. It is worth noting that, according to the demo players, we cannot interact with our Pokemon when we have them out in the overworld. No talking to them or playing with them just like we could in the old games. They simply follow you around and do moves when you tell them to. Now, this could be different in the full release, and I do hope it is, because I would love to play around with my Pokemon like I usually do. We'll have to see if that is something that changes when the full game comes out, but we also can't talk to trainers after we beat them, at least not in this demo. But they do have a little speech bubble appear above them saying whatever their thoughts are after the fight. So, I mean, to me, that's good enough. When taking care of your Pokemon though, be careful if they get poisoned. The poison continues to tick even outside of battle until your Pokemon reaches 1 HP. It's been a while since poison worked like this outside of fights in Pokemon games, so like I said, be mindful of it. Here's something I've seen people just skim by in their gameplay and even in comments and discussions on the topic, but by far the most exciting reveal in this footage for me was that we finally have environmental obstacles in the overworld now. I've been waiting for this for so long, and I've been wondering why this hasn't been properly implemented in the Switch Pokemon games until now. The closest we got was in Legends Arceus, where we could throw our Pokemon out to break rocks that blocked our path, and that was pretty cool, but any Pokemon could do it and they'd just do their physical attack animations to do so. Now, however, we see clearly here that not just any move is gonna break these rocks blocking our path. You'll see we can target the rocks and then choose a move for our Pokemon to use, just like we would in battle. But we then see that Fletchling's Peck Attack won't do the damage necessary. So I'm wondering if these obstacles will need specific move types, in this case probably a fighting type attack, to be broken, or perhaps a stronger Pokemon is needed in general, or perhaps a specific move, like Rock Smash. I'm personally hoping for move types to be the deciding factor here, and I really hope we get a lot of these obstacles because this is the sort of thing that I love and have missed a lot when it comes to exploration in 3D games and even in Pokemon games. And this wouldn't be a super inconvenient feature because we know that Pokemon boxes are accessible at any time. So you could just pick up whatever Pokemon has the move specific type that you need, break the obstacle, and then switch them out if you don't want them to stay on your team. Continuing on, the map of the game has revealed a lot, but arguably the biggest thing we learned is that we only start with 6 battle zones, and within those zones, they only host an average of 6 or 7 Pokemon. We know from previous footage that we'll get more battle zones, but I do still wonder if this is further hinting at some other part of the map, particularly an underground, existing, since there will still be quite a large number of Pokemon to be accounted for if ZA has a comparable amount of Pokemon to Legends Arceus, at the very least. Now later, we caught a glimpse of the full evolution sequence for the game. We had seen screenshots of the end of this, but something I didn't expect were the darker colors before the Pokemon evolved. It's only after they evolve that they're bathed in the light of the clouds in the sky. Next, let's discuss the Zygarde chase sequence, as this also gives us a glimpse into the world that we'll be exploring. In this case, I want to take a moment to appreciate the graphics real quick. Not something I expected to be saying today, but this scene shows some impressive aspects for the visuals. For one, the texture on the ground looks amazing to me. I can really see all the details in the concrete. I can see every grate and bevel perfectly. Even the grassy portions look good with a mix of dirt and grass. You can tell they haven't fallen into their old habits of overly repeating texture tiles for grassland areas. Though maybe it's because the city setting lets them shamelessly repeat textures on stone and concrete without it looking jarring, so they were able to just spend more time on the few grass sections that they had. Either way, it looks good, so I'm happy. I also want to point out how gorgeous the water looks glistening under the light of the moon and the streetlights. It almost elevates the scene to a breathtaking one. It really is only held back by the general art direction of the entire game just being relatively flat compared to the more stylized titles like Legends Arceus and Sword and Shield. For what it is though, and with this exposed art style, this is pleasant to the eye. An odd shot in particular shows that the walls of buildings can also have the Mega Shard lumps on them. This one is shown to block our path up the ladder to get to the roof to this particular building. I love that. Again, it's like an environmental hazard that blocks your way and you can find a way to get past it. And the clip of someone else coming across them on the building that hosts Mega Absol reveals that attacks with enough range will in fact hit and break them. One of the Nintendo staff actually also confirmed on the spot that these shard lumps are part of what's making the Pokemon go rogue Mega. They're coming into contact with these clumps and turning Mega in a painful manner. This also explains why we see so many on the building that Rogue Absol is on. So not only are we tasked with helping the Pokemon that accidentally Mega evolved, but we're also acting as a city cleanup crew of sorts as we're asked to destroy every clump of Mega Shards we find. That's super cool. Alright, so something that bridges the line between all of the different things we'll be doing in the game is the fact that held items are returning. Currently, the only held items we know of are ones that heal, but I wouldn't be too surprised if items that buff your Pokemon, or maybe even the usual modern held items that do very specific things, make their first entrance in a Legends game this time around. These will be important too, because while these activate once on the fly during a fight, we later learned in footage that using bagged items in combat puts them on a cooldown. This is the series first, and it'll make battles much harder. Apparently, according to almost every source that played the demo, ZA is much harder than any mainline Pokemon game that came before. So, if you've been craving difficulty, this is the game for you. I know for a fact that some of these larger game outlets are well versed in action games, so to hear even them saying this game isn't a walk in the park is exciting. Although I guess technically we are walking in parks in the game. A detail we've been wondering about that got confirmed is that our trainer can indeed take damage, just like in Pokemon Legends Arceus. And also, just like with Arceus, the damage shows on the edges of the screen. You can see that in the footage here. It'll be pivotal to keep up with buffs and debuffs on your Pokemon and the enemy as you fight though. You'll notice several dots above the Pokemon, and sometimes you'll have a blue downward arrow or a red upward arrow. These signify specific stats being buffed or debuffed. Currently, it seems we have to memorize which order these stats exist in, but on the spot you can see what buffs and debuffs happen on the right side of the screen. Ends of trainer battles are marked with a dynamic close-up shot of Pokemon fainting one last time. I love this because it gives a sense of spectacle to what's otherwise a pretty passive view of the fight at hand. Rogue Mega battles also end in a similar manner, though the camera isn't quite as dynamic. Speaking of which, these battles seem to be the hardest challenge in the game, according to the demo players, so make sure you're using the held items and everything at your disposal that we've talked about to survive them. Something else that'll help you survive is the ability to sprint. Once again, this is something trailers had not shown us before. Now, thanks to the competent gamers playing this demo, we see it return in gameplay on the Mega Absol fight. Oh, and this also confirms that Rogue Megas just are plain larger than normal when they Mega Evolve. According to plenty of the footage, you can catch the Pokemon at the end of the fight, but I doubt it retains its elevated Mega form size once we do, sadly. Now, all of this sounds mostly pretty good, but we should also touch on the worrisome aspects that the demo shined a light on. This wouldn't be a fair analysis if we didn't. For example, in Digipop's time playing, there was a part where she tried to have Mareep use a move, and Mareep got stuck running towards a building wall for a good 5 seconds or so before the game figured out how to fix it. This shows that the build used for the demo still isn't fully polished, so hopefully that's not indicative of the full release. And I can confirm that Digipop wasn't the only one who experienced this issue. I saw it in several other demos that were played by people as well. It does make me scared too, because this is likely very close to, if not a version of the final build for ZA before its final release. Another point of concern comes from the Zygarde chase sequence, where we clearly see jarring pop-in is very much still a thing, even with the game being confined to what looks like a very small cityscape that takes advantage of not needing to render much far away, because of all the walls. It's kind of insane to me actually that this is still an issue, especially with this demo being the Switch 2 version. I'm not going to mince my words here, Game Freak truly is an inexperienced development team, and seeing this on a Switch 2 is further proof of that. Also, just like with the Mareep in the last clip, the chase sequence isn't coded cleanly either, as we see Zygarde get stuck running into a fence as well. Yikes. Another detail that I personally didn't quite like, and I haven't really seen anyone discuss this yet either, is that items you can find on the ground have been reverted back to nothing more than sparkling specks. This is a huge step down from Legends Arceus, where every obtainable item had a defined shape and presence on the field, standing out as a resource to be gathered, rather than an immersion-breaking sparkle that exists separately from the world it inhabits. It's a small thing, pun intended, but these details can add up negatively if there's too many of them. So let's hope not many more show up, because as it stands, there's not that many, so I can get past them, and I think most people will too. All in all, I would say the demo footage we're seeing has proven to be far more positive than negative, and many of us are actually more excited for ZA after seeing it. If you guys noticed anything else in the demo version, please comment it down below so we can all look at it together. Afterwards, check out more of my videos like this one here, where I discuss the new multiplayer mode for Pokemon Legends ZA. The link is in front of you and in the pinned comment. And for those of you who like what I do, want to support me, and even have your name featured at the end of all of my videos, please join my Patreon with the link in front of you or in the description. I've been johtojonny, and I'll catch you all there.